everyone. Thanks for popping in a little early. We all saw yesterday on March 5th, we'll be retiring 61. So exciting time for all of us. And exciting time for Rick and his family. So we'll have a lot more information that we'll release about what's going to happen that night in the next several weeks. So stay tuned for that. With that, if you've got a question for Rick today, please raise your hand and we'll get you a mic.
Rick, first of all, congratulations. I watched the video, the moment that it hit you. What was that moment like for you, especially when compared with all the great moments you've had through your career, and then you hear that?
Yeah, it was definitely one of the greatest moments of my hockey career, no question. I was totally surprised. I had no idea what was going on, and never really liked to be the center of attention. So it was full of mixed emotions, and shock was probably the first one. So after I even watched the video, I kind of watched myself get surprised and just be totally in shock and not let it kind of sink in at the time.
Rick, you've had all week now to sort of process this and get your arms around it. What does it mean to you? What does it say in the big picture about you, your career, the city, the franchise, all that?
Yeah, to be honest, I just don't feel like I had proper closure on my career, especially my time in Columbus. Coming back and getting a job here helped a lot with that, and kind of getting the fans and the people in the city's acceptance. But this truly feels like the closure that I think I needed on my career, my family needed, and I think that's the biggest thing that kind of came to mind. Was it's the perfect end to the chapter, and from emotions that I felt, it's humbled as first. I'm so humbled to think that my number will be up in the rafters forever, beside Mr. Mac. It's incredible. It's tough for me to put into words what it means.
Rick, as you look back on your career, players, coaches, who had some of the biggest impacts on your career?
Yeah, I could sit here for a while and explain, the different impacts that people had. But here in Columbus, obviously, Doug McClain showed a lot of faith in me to draft me as an 18-year-old. I think Gerard Gallant had a big piece of my development. Ken Hitchcock, a huge part of it. So there's a lot of people that had a huge part of making me who I was as a hockey player. But those are kind of the names that pop in my head at first.
Rick, you just sort of touched on this about coming back here. But I mean, you never really left, in the off season. You guys still lived here in Columbus. What has it meant to you to be able to have the last, I guess, two positions that you've had with the front office here, to be able to come back and kind of start your executive career here?
Yeah, it means everything to me and my family. The way everything went down when I left town, it would have been easy just to pack up and never come back to Columbus, Ohio, unless we played the Blue Jackets. But I had a love for this city, and I can go back home to Toronto. I could go live down south, but Columbus feels like home to me. And for Yarmo and JD and Mike Priest to open up kind of the doors and allow me back in a front office job means a lot to me, means a lot to my family. But it really helped me with retirement. It's tough coming out of retirement as a professional athlete, doing something for so many years the same way, and then it just ends so fast. So it's helped me in so many different areas.
Rick, you've mentioned several times, including in the video, about your reception when you came back with the Rangers. Obviously wasn't very well for you. Can you imagine at that point that you'd be in this situation right now where you are today with your number going up in the rafters?
Yeah, probably not. That's a good question. That's a tough one to answer because I loved my time in New York, and I'm very happy that I got to see another organization and got to play for an original six. But in saying that, I always felt like I was a Blue Jacket. I feel like me and my family invested so much in the city and the Blue Jackets, and McConnell family invested so much in me that it always felt that that I was a Blue Jacket. This is where I signed all my contracts, never signed with another team. So did I envision the number going up? Probably not, but the way that everything worked out, I think it was pretty amazing. I feel pretty lucky to have it.
Geese in the back.
Rick, congratulations. Since we're all going to see 61 in the rafters now for forever, what was the origin? Do you remember the first time that you wore 61 and why you chose 61, or did you choose 61? Is there a quick story there?
Yeah, there is. So I always wore 13 with the Toronto Marlies growing up. I was a huge Matt Sundin fan, obviously growing up in Toronto. Got to London, asked for 13, and the trainer at the time, Don Brankley, due to superstition, said it was bad luck. You can't wear 13. So I said, I'll wear 16. That's my birthday's on the 16th. He said, a veteran already has 16. And I said, at that point, I said, put any number you want in my stall. And I showed up the next day and he said, I reversed 16 and it's 61. And, there's so many, my mom was born in 61. So as the years went on, we found so many reasons why 61 has meant so much. That player ended up getting traded 2 months into the season or 3, whatever it was. And I remember Branks coming up to me and saying, you can have 16 now. And I was having a good season. And I just said, I'll stick with 61, and it seemed to work out.
One of the things that Sean Crowley said in that video is, as a kid growing up, he was, kind of dreaming about being Rick Nash, messing around with the hockey stick in his yard and stuff like that. And I don't think he's the only guy who's come up through the Columbus hockey ranks that have thought that. I mean, you talked about humbling earlier, but is it kind of cool to think about maybe the impact you've had on some of these guys that are coming through and the impact on hockey you've had in this community and just how kind of the success you had made so many people get interested in the sport here over the years?
Yeah, that is a special part of, growing with the Blue Jackets, that you start seeing these kids that used to come down to Nationwide Arena as fans and grow up playing the game here, idolize you. I remember when I got traded to Boston, and that was one of the first things Sean told me is he couldn't believe he was sitting beside me. He had a poster of me on his wall. And during training camp this year, I think Jack was cleaning out his parents' house, and he came to me with one of those McFarlane figurines, and it was to Jack, happy birthday. And he said it was for his 10th or 11th birthday or something. So, it's just little things like that. How much the city means to me, and what I tried to do was grow the game of hockey in Columbus. And, there's a lot of people to be thankful for up and down the organization and ownership.
Hey, Rick, real quick, do you remember the name of the player who had 16?
Matthew Albiani.
Thanks.
I believe. Yeah.
And when you were drafted, that was a wild first round, the maneuvering that went on to get up to 1 from 3. What did you know about Columbus, Ohio? Obviously, you'd heard of the Blue Jackets as an NHL franchise, but what was your point of reference for the city, if anything, when you were drafted by them?
Yeah, for me, we used to come to tournaments in Detroit and Buffalo, and that was basically kind of the two cities, and knowing Michigan and New York were the two states. To be honest, I didn't know anything about Ohio, and I didn't know anything about Columbus. And I remember landing here the first time, and I believe Todd Chirac picked me up at the airport, and I remember coming around the bend on 670, and you could basically see all of Nationwide Arena at that time. And just thinking this could be my home for the next 3 or 4 years, and not even envisioning what it'll turn into. But that's kind of my first memories of landing in Columbus.
Hey, Rick, for future generations, after your number goes up in the rafters, for future generations coming in, people are going to look up and say, oh yeah, Rick Nash. But what do you want the people that are coming later as fans to know why your number's up there? What is it? They're going to walk in and say, why was he so good? Or what do I know about him?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the first thing that came to mind when I thought about my number getting retired was I'm going to be up there beside Mr. Mac's initials. And I was like, wow, I mean, if there's someone to have as a mentor or someone to try to live your life by their values, I think it's Mr. Mack. So that came to mind first. What did Mr. Mack mean to this city? Well, you see his name all around town, and you see how much he's done for this community and how much his family still continues to do, and bringing a professional sports team here. So, you know, if future generations look up at the 61, I hope they can kind of learn a story of what I tried to do to grow the game in Columbus. And what I tried to do on the ice each night was, you know, bring a good effort and excitement for our fans. You know, those early years, I remember Mr. Mack always used to say, you know, the winning and losing, or the winning will take care of itself as long as you guys give 110% for our fans. And that's how I tried to play here.
Rick, you've got a young hockey player in your house now. How did your kids grasp this, or how did you try to explain it to your family? As you, like, dad's numbers going up? Do they have a concept of how big this is for dad?
I don't think so. I know I got one text and they asked my son Mac if he ever made the Blue Jackets. He wouldn't be able to wear 61. That was a funny one. Once we left the room after the announcement, we walked out and they were all asking me about the dog in the dressing room and why there's a dog in the dressing room. So that's kind of where their head's at with this stuff. I think my oldest son Mac, he gets it more than the others, and he's excited. He obviously knew he had to keep a secret, and he was really excited about that. So we'll see. I mean, one of the coolest things is it's up there forever, and that's what really makes me humbled about it, is that I can tell them stories and point at it.
Rick, have you been, forgive me, I was looking this up in a hurry. Have you been on the ice for a retirement ceremony for another player?
Yes, with the Rangers in Montreal, Bob Gainey, I believe.
And I mean, that's a front row view, but have you thought about what that night is going to be like for you? Because you know the place is going to be sold out, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, I didn't know. I don't know if it'll be sold out. Yeah, I mean, I've thought about it. Obviously, I think it's human to think about that. I think about all the emotions and the celebration, and it kind of brings me back to the closure of my career. I don't know. We did one in London, and it was emotional there, and I spent 2 years there. You know, played just over 100 games, so I can't imagine what the feeling's going to be, but I can tell you one thing: I'm so excited, and I'm so thankful from the Blue Jackets organization how they handled this. It's been first class.
Do you ever get back to Brampton these days? And do you have family there or anything, or anybody still that I'm sure they're pretty excited?
Yeah, they're very excited. I do have some aunts and uncles still in Brampton. I go to Mississauga to see Ole Holm, so that's pretty close. Yeah, there's still a bunch of family and friends there that I get to see, and they'll be really excited to come down and celebrate this.
And I'd have to imagine, since the news came out yesterday, you've probably heard from former teammates and people throughout the hockey world and stuff like that. Has it been kind of a cool trip down memory lane to kind of see some, you know, probably talk to some people you haven't talked to in a while, things like that?
Yeah, it has been. It's you know, there's been so many people involved for the reason of why this is happening, and you know, this isn't something that you do by yourself, or it's individual. Obviously, there's one number going up there, but you just start thinking about all the people that were the reason for this. And yeah, it was nice to hear from a lot of the people. You know, Ken Hitchcock sent me a text and we exchanged back and forths, and he's obviously a huge part of this. So just to think of some of the texts that came in last night was really cool.
Great, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you to you guys too. You guys are obviously part of this and part of my career. So hope we can all enjoy it. Thank you.